move, take it off of the mat. We rock crowds every time we react. Boom, boom, rap, yeah, we got it like that. Kick drum, hit your whole body go crack. Then the baseline move, take it off of the mat.
Yes, welcome to this week's edition of the Heatcheck, the All-Star Special. And disclaimer, this is my favourite time of the NBA season. After what's been an incredible trade deadline, we now break into the All-Star weekend and we get ourselves ready for Chicago. And I brought my boys with me to discuss everything that's going to be happening in that weekend, as well as those great trades that we discussed earlier on today. The man to my left who will be in the Shy, getting himself ready for All-Star weekend, Mo Moonsey. The man to my right, happy belated birthday, first of all. Aquarius season, Ovi Soko. And of course, since there's 3 nights of All-Star weekend, we brought in a third guest. And our third guest is the first time he's on the sofa today. Former GB athlete, man himself, Mr. Ryan Martin. First of all, welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you feeling good? You ready? You seen this show before? You see how we go?
Yeah.
No holds barred, no holding back, you know?
You already know.
You see how these boys get on already?
Or not.
Hey, look, you set me up perfectly. Let's jump into our first segment. Hot or not? Gentlemen, I'm gonna be real. When I was sitting down, I was writing down, I was thinking about some of the subjects we could discuss this week. The Houston Rockets had to be top of the list because I looked at them for the last few seasons, and I see your face already. We looked at the last few seasons, and let's be real, they have been pushing towards championship. And this season, it has to be championship or bust. Then the trade deadline happened, and they acquired Robert Covington and traded away their only recognised big in terms of Clint Capella. Now, let's pause for a second. Let's take this in. Maybe give D'Antoni a little bit of a clap for trying to introduce something that we've never seen before. But my hot take is this small ball will find them short in the playoffs. Hot or not? Oh yeah, that's 2. I'm gonna wait for you, Ove.
Can you repeat the question, please?
It's a confusing
The small
one.
ball will find the Rockets very short in terms of in the playoffs. They will not progress where they turn around and saying championship or bust. It's a bad move.
Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, full house. Can you believe that? First time round, full house.
Oh, man, everyone's in a good mood.
I hear that. Oh, I'm gonna come to you first.
I think it's going to be exciting. I think they'll win games. I think we haven't seen enough of them yet. But ultimately, they'll still win games. They'll still be a playoff team. They'll be a good team. But as far as being a trade that's made them better and being a style of basketball that makes them better, I can't see that happening. I can't see them winning deep in the playoffs, competing against all of the better teams in the NBA, which clearly do have pretty dominant big men. Obviously, Boston don't have a dominant big man, so
Diggs already?
they're not in
Are we
that.
doing
So
Diggs
they're not
already?
in that discussion. They're not in that discussion.
Are we doing Diggs
clearly.
already?
But but you know, to win, you need to have be able to mix up. You can't depend on small ball.
Right, first time on the sofa. I mean, I watched them against the Lakers, and look, the Lakers are supposed to have the trees: Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Anthony Davis, and they looked all right, the Rockets. They look to be doing it in every single department. Now, you tell me, is this small ball going to work when it comes to the playoffs or not?
Do you know what? Personally, I don't think it's going to work when it comes to the playoffs. I feel short term, regular season, they're going to get wins, and they might be slightly better than what they were with, like, Clint Capella. Mm-hmm. But nah, this is not YMCA basketball. This is not. No.
This isn't the pickup.
Yeah,
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's not.
you're not in the park. You're going up against the best.
Of course.
And if you look at what history tells us, you need a dominant big man to win, especially in the Western Conference. Maybe they could have got away with it and get to the finals in the Eastern Conference because there's just not that many dominant teams like the West. But you think of Rudy Gobert, you think of Dwight Howard, you think of JaVale McGee, Anthony Davis.
Jokic, the names go on.
Yeah,
The names go on.
yeah.
There's some big guys.
They won one game against the Lakers, but
It's
you're
over a
talking
7
about
game.
a 7-game series. That's not really going to cut it. That's just my opinion.
Look, Mo, it seems to be this is championship or bust, finally, for the Houston Rockets. Are you seeing D'Antoni put all of his chips in the middle and say, look, this has to work, I'm going to live and die by this 3 ball?
The saying goes, defense wins championship. And the Houston Rockets have gone all money in on their offense. They're saying to teams, cool, we might not be able to stop you from scoring, but we're going to outscore you because every shot we take is going to be a three-pointer. You're only going for twos, and three is more than two. And as you said, you live and die by the three. It's a very risky move. You said earlier, like, we haven't seen this before. I think we have, in a way, when Golden State were wheeling out that lineup with Draymond Green at the 5. And, you know, that was unique, though, because Steph
unique.
and Clay are two of the best shooters of all time. They've got Harden. Who else on that roster is in that caliber of all-time greatness? I don't see it working.
See, the thing is, with that Golden State team, at that point, Draymond Green was arguably the best defender in the league. So you could get away with having him at the 5.
Yep.
Where do you see the defensive anchor in this team right now?
And they had Bogut.
They-
You know,
yeah,
and
let's
they
not
had
forget,
JaVale
they
McGee.
had-
Of
they
course,
had-
you
They
know.
had rotating plays. They had
Exactly.
rotating
They
pieces.
were rotating, you know, bigs in. If you're just talking about primarily going with a small ball 5 every single game, at the end of the day, playoffs, it's a mixture of pace. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to be able to get up and down, but that's the first thing they cut out. A lot of the fast break points in the playoffs, you have to slow it down and play in half-court sets. So that, in a sense, negates your speed. The speed factor where, you know, a smaller team generally gets a lot of their advantage. The fact that they're not a defensive team means that they're not going to be getting stops and be able to use their pace as an advantage. Guys are going to be scoring one end, and then they're going to have to go and set up and play against a set defense on the
But
other end.
here's the balancing act. Obviously, I watched them against the Jazz as well. And incredible last-minute shot by Bogdanovic.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they were in the game for a long period of time. And Rudy Gobert is probably one of the most dominant big men in the league. And yet the Rockets were able to nullify him for a long period of that game. So how do you turn around and say that this is not going to work?
That's a regular season game.
Sample
You
size.
know, and it was, a day after the trade deadline.
Sample size.
In the playoffs, you've got time to prepare for a 7-game series specifically against a certain opposition. So that the Jazz or whoever they're facing, they will know what they're coming up against. You know, that Utah probably didn't even plan ahead for that game. They just turned up to play it because they don't even know who's going to be on the roster. But Covington be there, would there be any other moves? The reason why I used the Golden State analogy earlier is that they had Draymond Green, who was Defensive Player of the Year at the time. The Houston Rockets are relying on PJ Tucker, who's been suffering from nerve problems in his shoulder already this season. And you're relying on him to guard guys like Jokic and Anthony Davis. I think it's a recipe for disaster.
I mean, the people have spoken as well, and we had to make it open to the public and let them decide as to how far they think the Rockets will go. Now, what's interesting enough about it is, as we spoke about, Daryl Morey, there's pressure on him. Mike D'Antoni didn't sign that contract extension in the summer. There's pressure on him. This has to be championship now for Houston Rockets, surely.
I mean, I feel like we saw the Houston Rockets were close.
They're
They were close.
semi-finals. People are saying they're going to get semis.
They were close with CP
Yeah.
before he went and blew that whole thing up. So, you know, is he just going to keep on trying these quick fix schemes to try and win in one season, win in two? Like, building a championship team and a dynasty, it's a process. You know, shout out to my man Embiid. But it's a process, and you have to trust it.
Yeah.
We saw that Golden State team literally be built over, you know, a period of time. It wasn't a team that just came together.
It was organic.
It was organic. Do you know what I mean? And just trying to, you know, flip for a big name and try and win straight away, like that's, I don't think that's the norm. That's not how you're gonna get long-standing success, unless you're obviously talking about bringing in some mega stars and, you know,
But
building a Thanos.
But you know what? As you turned around and said, Joel Embiid, trust the process. That's actually my next segment for Hot or Not. And what I would turn around and say to you, though, is I've looked at the 76ers over the last, let's say, 10 games. Decent sample size, 5-5. But more concerning than anything else is their record on the road. Now, I'm turning around and saying to you, hot take right now, the 76ers have spiraled out of control, and it's time to rip up the process.
There's a fire in the building. There's a fire in the building.
That's twice, full house.
There's a fire.
House.
Yeah, I'm liking
house.
this. I'm liking this. Let's see if my topics are good this week. All right, Ryan, we'll come to you first, man. You as a big man, what are you saying from Joel Embiid, first of all? And why is he not being the leader that the 76ers needed this year?
I think he's young, you know, and I think he's been plagued with injuries, you know, that it kind of like hampers his like leader like responsibilities, because how can you be a leader when you're not out on the court like with everyone else? Now, him and Ben, they don't mesh because, you know, Ben can't shoot. And it's not just, but it's the
Is
truth.
it
though.
can't shoot or he won't shoot?
No, he can't.
Can we just
shoot.
get this right?
Bro,
If he could shoot, he'd do it.
Exactly.
But okay, you're inside the NBA, I'm
lot
inside the
are going
NBA.
at
I've asked
Ben.
people, and
No, it's
Ben
true.
Simmons is apparently in practice putting up the three.
Yeah, but in practice, there's been so many players that you would not believe that I've been in practice gyms with.
Oh, every
that
NBA player can go like
They
that
can
practice.
score from halfway
Oh,
if they
yeah,
want
yeah,
to.
yeah.
But what's more
In
concerning
practice,
that
they
he's
can
not
all
taking
score.
it. Why is he not taking it then?
It's a
Because he's not
psychological
confident.
factor.
He's not confident. If he was confident, he would take it. If he felt like he could make it. But the thing is, to be honest, he doesn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Rondo, he won a championship with your Celtics, and he's not a three-point shooter.
But he still took the shots.
Yeah.
Even if he missed them.
Right,
still
but he never
them.
took many. You know, like you wouldn't say that was his threat.
Oh,
But
of
at the
course
end of
not.
the day, you can build a team around Ben with shooters and make him successful. But if he's not going to shoot and he doesn't have shooters around him, they got rid of JJ Redick. Like, that was their main...
Silly
you know,
decision.
like-
They'll look back on that now. But Ryan, the reason why I asked you about Joel Embiid's leadership is because, of course, we've seen the leadership on the court has come into question, but it's the leadership off the court as well. And I think I was really concerned when I saw this Instagram post from Joel Embiid, turn around and saying, look, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself as a villain. Now that hashtag as well, the process is everything that Philadelphia have lived by since they started this in terms of bringing in Ben Simmons, bringing in Joel Embiid. But it was Jimmy Butler in the comments, top there, that really, I would say, waved some flags. I know a place where villains are welcome. Now, it could just be Jimmy being Jimmy. But at the same time, as someone who's been in that locker room, as someone who has close relationships with Joel Embiid, I mean, I'm not creating no speculation, but life is good down in South Beach sometimes.
Life is good.
Life is good in South
But
Beach.
he did post a tweet, in all fairness to him, after, and I think that was more a reaction to the fans booing him. And he said, if I can take the heat from you guys, you can take it from not the heat.
Yeah.
No pun intended. you know, if I can take it from you, you guys got to take it from me. So I think, it's not showing that he wants out. I don't see it as like a trade request or whatever.
Yeah.
But the problem with the Sixers is they lack leadership, as you were saying. They also lack three-point shooting. They lost JJ Redick. They lost Jimmy Butler, who was the leader. Simmons and Embiid are both young guys. Al Horford, he's a veteran in this league, but he proved last year he's not a leader. That Celtics last year spiraled out of control,
Very much
and he
so.
did nothing to help it. And the same thing, the Sixers this season are what the Celtics were last season. In the summer, everyone's excited about them. Oh, they're going to make the finals. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. The regular season comes around, and they're struggling. They just don't have it all together. They've got over 100 million going out to their top four guys, and when they're on the court together, they've got a negative net rating. So,
I mean, you said it right. I know we're raising a lot of flags and we're talking about Ben Simmons' lack of shooting, we're talking about Joel Embiid's potential lack of leadership, but I think there's another huge flag that we're missing, and that's Brett Brown. Now, you've been under a lot of good coaches. You turn around and tell me, looking at the way the Philadelphia 76ers are shaping it right now, have they lost respect for his leadership?
It's hard to say. I feel like respect has been lost in a certain aspect, I guess, if you look at it like that. But then also, are you dealing with a team that wants to be led? We can say Horford this and that, but Joel Embiid, he's a strong character, and Horford, maybe he's not the type of leader like probably a Jimmy Butler would be, where he's not afraid to get vocal and maybe have a couple rustle tussles in practice. He's a different kind of leader, but you're not dealing with that sort of group. And I think it's showing. You're seeing the egos come out when you see guys getting into Twitter debates, a guy that can get sort of riled up so easily by commentary made by former players that aren't even playing the game anymore. Someone who can...
Charles Barkley's getting under these guys'
do you know what I
skin.
mean?
It's true.
Someone who lets reporters get under their skin, is that someone that's able to be led? Do you know what I mean? And to piggyback on what you said, Ryan, I think we are seeing quite a lot of immaturity with him. And with the immaturity, I think I've seen some comments he's made in practice talking about he's not quite sure of his role sometimes. Maybe is that a shot at Ben Simmons? Who knows? Do you know what I mean? You see,
Yes,
you know what I mean?
You know it's
Who
a shot at Ben
knows?
Simmons.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
We know
Who knows?
we've been
Or is it
inside
a
those
shot at
locker
Brett
rooms.
Brown?
In whatever capacity, we've been inside those locker rooms, whether it's media, whether it's players. Players are free to speak their mind. And when you have your leader, your best player, turn around and saying things like that, it's a shot at whoever is the B on that team. He's confused clearly about Ben Simmons' role.
I think it's unfair to criticise Brett Brownlow because he's been given this particular mix of players and he's been told to make it work. if
Mate,
you're
we're talking
building a
about some
team,
good players that
yeah,
he's got,
they're good players, but we know from the history of the NBA, just putting good players together it's not a recipe for success. They have to be complementary players that fit each other.
Yeah.
He's been given a bunch of players. He's got Ben Simmons who doesn't shoot, Joel Embiid, he can shoot, but he's most dominant in the low post. Tobias Harris, who struggled from the perimeter this season, and Al Horford, he can shoot a three, but that's not his primary offensive thing. So he's been given 4 guys, all on almost max contracts each. And, where's the spacing coming from? Where's the shooting coming
Where
from?
is-
You've got literally
where is
four
the
guys,
spacing?
You've got 4 guys
Where
that
is
are
the
3,
spacing?
4, 4, 5s.
They do the same
And there's
thing,
4 of
kind
them out there. Like,
And defensively, it should work, but offensively, it's almost like the opposite of the Houston Rockets. These guys have been built to maybe slow down Giannis.
The front office have done a poor job. They've definitely done a poor job. Like
Elton Brand.
putting
And
the team
Ryan
together.
just called you out, by the way. Elton Brand.
It is what it is. It is what
Ryan
it is.
just
Brown
called you
stuck
out.
with them when they were terrible.
Yeah.
And, they have to keep, it's only right that they keep him in place because he was with them while they were going through the process of being so awful and acquiring these draft picks. And this is the final product of the process. But I think maybe it's time to flip some of these pieces,
Blow 'em
make
up.
some changes.
blow that squad up.
Look,
blow it
one
up.
man, as much as
Blow
we
it
saw
up.
Joel Embiid flirting with maybe a move to South Beach, one man that did secure his move to South Beach was Andre Iguodala. I mean, life is always
Iggy.
good when DJ Khaled is around the corner. But the important question is, was it a vet's move for Iggy to demand that trade? And I think, personally, my hot take, it was a good move. What are you guys saying?
For who, though?
Yeah, that's the
For
question.
Andre Iguodala.
Oh, for him-
Andre Iguodala.
For him,
It was
a
right
great
to demand
move.
the trade.
But for me, as a fan of the NBA,
Oh, here we go.
this is a terrible move.
Here we go. You tell you two. You actually these two haven't voted as of yet. So tell me, was it right for Andre to turn around and demand the trade?
Bruv.
That's an ultimate vet move.
Ultimate vet move, right?
Hold on.
36.
It's so hot. It's so hot in here. It's so
Ultimate
hot.
vet move.
It's so hot in here. Bruv,
Just
Explain.
let him go. Let him go first.
See,
Let's hear this.
Andre Iguodala, he's with the Grizzlies, he's under contract with them. And I would understand this. If he was with the Knicks or if he was with the Wizards, okay, cool. Your team's in the lottery, sit out, whatever, get your trade. The Grizzlies are in the Western Conference. It's not like they made it to the East Coast. They're competing. They're in a spot for the Western Conference playoffs. It's a major disrespect to the guys like Ja Morant, who have been playing hard all season.
that don't want him on their team, but go on.
No, they don't want him because he said, no one really knows the truth of the situation. Do you know what I mean? He says the
He's
Grizzlies
vexed.
are cool with him not playing. The Grizzlies players are like, yeah, whatever about this guy. But the Grizzlies are in the 7th spot right now. If they had Iguodala playing for them, maybe they'd be even higher. Do you know what I mean? It's not like
So you're
it's
saying
not like they're a trash franchise. I think it's disrespectful.
I'm just asking you a question. You're saying if Andre Iguodala had played this season with the Memphis Grizzlies, they would have been higher than where they're ranked right now in the Western
They
Conference.
might be a spot higher. You never know.
Put it this way.
I'll let
At
you
this
go.
point in the season, I think to start of the season, everyone was sort of surprised at quite how good the Heat were at the beginning of the season. And same with the Grizzlies. But Grizzlies making the playoffs, I think, is a big enough sort of upset, in my opinion.
In its own.
In its own. The Heat, I think all of us can agree, have a lot more potential to go a lot further.
Yeah.
And with, especially on the East,
Yeah.
being a weaker side, he could go further with the Heat. He can bring that championship sort of experience, and I think injecting him into that team goes a lot further. And at this point in his career, when he's not necessarily about going to the beginning of a whole new rebuilding project, I think we've got a couple of years until we start seeing the Grizzlies sort of really contend for anything
of course.
in the
But
West.
What I'm saying is, it was a disrespectful move to the Memphis organization, who have played fantastic basketball.
Wasn't
this season.
disrespectful.
It was
Right,
disrespectful
how do
to
you
his
feel
teammates.
in terms of balancing?
How would you
Like,
feel if one of your teammates said,
You've
I
seen
don't
vets
want
on
to
the
play with
team.
you guys, I'm going to wait till
That
the
he
end
did-
of the
that he
season."
didn't want, that he didn't want.
Andre Iguodala made it very clear from the beginning. He said to him, I want to be on a championship team. Obviously, he got traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. It didn't work out for him in terms of his setup. How would you turn around and feel if you were on that team?
First of all, I got 2 takes to this. Memphis are not a championship contending team. I don't care if they're making the playoffs. It's not disrespectful to a guy that has already got championships. To say that I don't want to be here because I want to be somewhere where I'm going to end my career contending for a championship.
He's signed an extension.
Right, he
It's not
signed
his final season.
Yeah, well,
He signed an extension.
He signed an extension, but let's be honest. Iggy's not LeBron James at this point in his career. He's not gonna make that big of a difference. I think the biggest difference he's gonna make is within the leadership role.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to like bring the young guys together. And as Ovi said, the Heat are going to probably go further in the playoffs than the Memphis Grizzlies are.
Of course they will.
Now, at the end of the day, his like contribution on the court is not going to be that great. I don't think even the Miami Heat are expecting Iggy to be like, a 15 to 20 point a game scorer. Like, it's just not, I don't think it's realistic at this point.
I'm loving this.
I don't think it's realistic.
He's teed me up perfect. Gentlemen, as much as I want to talk about Miami, we're going to get a chance to talk about Miami in our next segment. Into it, off the court. That's 2 assists already, by the way, right? I like this. Yeah, I like this already. Power moves down in Miami. I'm seeing it all the time. Clearly, I think that, as we agreed, they're probably beating expectations this year as to how they're performing in the Eastern Conference. But the question I have for you, especially off the court, when you bring Andre Iguodala into that setup, you bring Solomon Hill as well, and you bring in the other additions in terms of Jae Crowder, does this make them a lock for the Eastern Conference Finals?
I don't think it makes them a lock. I think it definitely like puts them over the hump though, in terms of bringing in Iggy especially. Like, you've got experience that you can't really buy, you know? And I think that was kind of the key thing that Pat Riley was trying to like gain by bringing Iggy on board, because that experience is just like, it's so valuable when you get to the playoffs in terms of just managing like cohesion, like amongst the group. You know, like everyone knows Jimmy he's a passionate guy, you know, but he leads in a different way. Yeah. You know, like where Iggy is going to be able to bring a different element towards the locker room that, you know, a lot of these teams, like we saw Boston Celtics struggle with that last year. You know, it's just something about that leadership role that you can't really grab from any player. Like, and that's what like Iggy's going to bring to the table. So I don't think they're a lock, but I do think it definitely pushes them over the edge.
I mean, I've made no secrets that I would love to be in South Beach when it comes round to June. So I'm going to turn my question to you. You see Jimmy Butler on one wing, you see Andre Iguodala on the other wing in terms of wing perimeter defenders. How excited would that make you as a Miami Heat fan?
I think it's a discredit to Jae Crowder. He's bringing great perimeter defense to this lineup, and arguably he might even get more minutes than Iguodala because, you know, Iguodala's 36, he ain't played basketball for 8 months. Jae Crowder's an elite perimeter defender, so I think those three, as a trio, if you're an attacker and they're switching,
which direction do you
you're
go
going from Jimmy Butler to Iguodala to Jae Crowder, you're thinking, give me a break, guys.
Of course.
But for me, I don't think they're a lock because they were in trade talks for Danilo Gallinari. And they were trading some players that wouldn't have actually damaged their core rotation. They just couldn't come to an agreement on the protections of the pick that was going to be involved in that trade. But had that have gone through and they had got Gallinari as well, then I think, yeah, we'd be sitting here talking about a whole different Miami team because they would then be my favourites personally. But, you know, the East is competitive. You've got the Bucks, you've got the Raptors who are on a 15-game win streak right now. You've got, obviously, I don't even say my team, but you've got the Pacers who've got Oladipo coming back. You've even got the Sixers. You never know what can happen. They might get it together. Who knows? The Eastern Conference, there's 6 teams in there, and I think it's going to be a close one this year.
I mean, just quickly, I mean,
there's one lock in the East. There's one lock in the East, and that's Team Giannis. That's Team Giannis. Everyone else, as far as a lock for the Eastern Conference Finals, I think it's happening. It depends on matchups. It depends on where the other teams fall. I think the only team that we can all agree on, you know, and put them in the Eastern Conference Finals, regardless of who they come up against, regardless of who they see, is Team Giannis. No, that's just reality. Yeah. It's not a shot at the Boston. It's not a shot at the Heat. It's not a shot at Toronto. All them teams are awesome. The Bucks are a whole other beast. They're a monster. They're a monster. So, you know, that's the only team that's a lock.
We touched on Covington a little bit beforehand, but I just want to just resurface it just very, very quickly because I want to know who you lot felt won and lost each sort of trade. So when we talk about Capella going one way and Covington coming to the Rockets, who do you think wins in that sort of situation, especially from a Rockets perspective? Would you think they've actually made a step forwards or a step backwards? I know you've both touched on it with the small ball, but looking at it in the grand scheme of things and the direction the NBA is going especially.
That's an interesting one because it was multiple teams and multiple players. It was one of the biggest trades we've seen.
Honestly, it made it such an exciting trade deadline. You know, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Covington's a huge pickup because when you talk about 3-and-D guys, they're one of the most valuable assets for modern NBA teams. And Covington is arguably one of the best at that 3-and-D. What worries me about him is he's a rhythm shooter. You know, if he can get going and get hot, then he's on fire and he's a real threat. But with the Rockets,
I
he's
know
going to
where
be
you're going.
standing there for 5 minutes watching James Harden dribble. So he's not going to be in rhythm. And he hit a huge clutch shot against Utah, and it's great. And they're going to rely on him to help PJ Tucker, guarding some of them bigger guys. But, you know, I like it for the Hawks, you know. They've obviously got Trae Young. They're trying to build around him.
Facts.
We've seen what Clint Capella can do operating that pick and roll. You've got John Collins there. I'm not too sure how that fit's going to work, but I know John's working on his perimeter shooting and adding other aspects to his game. So, you know, the Hawks are kind of, in a few years' time, they might be building something there that's quite exciting.
Winners and losers from the Hawks and the Rockets in terms of that massive, I mean, it was difficult to kind of talk about everything that was involved, but those two teams especially.
Do you know what? I think Atlanta, you know, Trae Young's going to have fun.
He is.
With Capella, you know.
That pick and roll is going to be dangerous.
Yeah, but do you know what? I think it's more for the future. You know, like, they're not really contenders now. You know, they're floating around the bottom of the Eastern Conference. So in terms of, like, winners for the present, I think I'd go with Houston, but for, like, a different reason. More for Covington's defense, you know, like, he's one of the stronger perimeter defenders, like, in the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, we all know the Rockets kind of lack on the defensive side of things. They
Just a little bit.
Yeah, right?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like just defensively, he's definitely going to help them a lot. Everyone knows, you know, he's a shooter. He likes to, like, throw the threes up, so he's going to get to do that in abundance now.
Of course.
You know.
Willie.
Yeah, right.
Talking to teams that probably lack on the defensive side, I just want to touch on another team. I mean, that D'Lo going one way and Andrew Wiggins going the other, that probably caught a lot of attention because they're very, very similar players, came in with very, very similar reputations as well. Who won in terms of that trade between Golden State and Minnesota? I'm coming to you.
Definitely Minnesota.
Okay.
Minnesota.
Okay.
Minnesota won that. Mo called this one out. Mo called this one a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, there's history between those guys. I don't think, I just say they won because it's almost like, okay, now who's the better team out of two crap teams?
Yeah.
Really. But if that's just who you have to pick from, I mean, you know, Golden State, I guess we have to wait and see until Steph Curry, when Steph Curry and Klay Thompson come back.
Of course.
Because then I think seeing how those two return, that could very easily change, and it could be that, you know, Wiggins playing alongside those two is a better fit, because it could be argued D'Lo, he likes to play with the ball in his hands a lot. That's something that Wiggins probably isn't the best doing as far as creating for guys around him.
Yeah.
So with him playing with two guys that will take that sort of responsibility away from him, and he'll be able to get probably more spot-up shots, and he could play a similar role to what Iggy played. If he could play,
Harrison Barnes.
defense, Harrison Barnes, those guys.
Just needs to put on some muscle, though.
I mean, the question I have to you, Mo, and the reason why I asked Ovi first is because I didn't want to see his face when I asked this next one. But you know, if they have two of the three of them, you know who they're targeting next, right?
Yeah, I've been saying it.
D-Book is on their radar. If Minnesota can acquire him and make the pieces work, I mean, you're talking about a real...
You're talking about a team.
You're talking about a real powerhouse franchise.
You're talking about a team that'll put on
D-Book's
200
not on
points
that.
but play no defense.
D-Book's not on that.
Yeah,
How do you know? How do you know?
Kobe.
How do you know?
D-Book, he's a Kobe kind of
he's
guy.
a- he's built like
Mindset-wise, he
Kobe.
wants his own team.
During the summer,
he's not on
The
that.
reason why I asked you
during
that
the summer,
is because you saw how they came
Yeah.
off they saw how they came off the plane. It was a big deal to them. I mean, I've never seen a player more excited to land in Minnesota in February ever in my
I've
life.
never seen someone excited to land there.
I mean, everybody was there trying to make it seem like it was LA, but it wasn't quite. But they still
Yeah.
gave him the love they
So
wanted.
during the summer, they did a Slam Magazine shoot together, D-Book, D-Lo, and Cat, and they said this, and D-Lo was like, keep the cameras running. We're going to all link up on the same team. They don't know when or where, but it's going to happen.
It's going to be
So
in
only
Phoenix.
time will
It's
tell.
not going to be in Minnesota.
I don't know. But with the trade, I think it's two teams in very bad situations, but I think they both win. Because the Golden State Warriors, by attaching the other two players that no one's talking about to this trade, they saved themselves $60 million
my gosh.
in the repeater luxury tax. So for them, they save a big bag. And also, Minnesota sent them a pick, which is only top 3 protected. So, it could still land in the lottery. And if you're trying to flip for another star to bring to that team, you're looking at D'Lo and... D'Lo and Wiggins. They're kind of similar, take a lot of twos, whatever. Teams don't really want them in their contract.
Nope.
But Golden State could have packaged that with their pick, but now they can package their pick plus the Minnesota first rounder and the second rounder if they're trying to make a move in the trade market this summer.
Right, one franchise. Who wins? Which one? Who won the trade?
They both lost. They both lost.
Yo, I love that.
They're both trash. I can't even lie. But do you know what? For a moral victory, Cat won the trade. So Minnesota, because he got his boy to play with him.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And look, as much as the trade deadline was incredibly exciting, we still have the All-Star weekend to look forward to. So shout out to our guy Giannis, who caught the All-Star reactions and predictions with the NBA community.
NBA All-Star Weekend is coming up. The starters have been announced, and now you're feeling the excitement starting to build. So we thought we'd get a little bit of an idea of what the general public are expecting to see on All-Star Weekend, and what better place to do it than NBA House right here in Paris. So the All-Star starters have been announced. If you had to get any player on the back of your All-Star jersey, who are you getting?
Nikola Jokic,
Why?
because he's the best modern center. He plays like a point guard, passes the ball. And my parents are from Serbia, so you got to support the homeland.
Bias, pure bias. You love to see it.
No, you gotta go with Damian Lillard.
LeBron James.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I'm getting LeBron.
Why so?
He's strong, he's the king, and you love to be the king, right?
Giannis.
Giannis.
It's a simple answer, really, isn't it? These guys are Bucks season ticket holders.
Parker.
Why so?
Why?
Yeah. He's not playing in the game this year.
Yeah, I know, but he's the best player.
That's serious French commitment right there. Who are you having on the back?
Yeah, in fact, I have Giannis today, but I wish to have a LeBron James jersey.
LeBron James.
Yeah.
LeBron James. Okay, so he's got the Giannis on already.
Against him.
You take LeBron James. Okay, Luka Doncic and Trae Young are going to be playing in the game this year. Who will score more points in the All-Star game?
I guess it will be Luka Doncic.
Maybe Luka. Trey will score more points.
Taking Trae, huh?
Yeah. Because Luka don't need to score points to dominate the game.
Trey.
Luka, because he is the rookie of the year.
Maybe Luka.
Luka.
Yeah, maybe.
50 points? 45?
20. Trae
Young.
Trae Young. Not backing Luka.
No.
I think Doncic.
You're going with Doncic?
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Luka Doncic scored more than Trae Young. It's a tricky one, I can't lie. If you could pick any one player that you'd want to see in the dunk contest, whether it be this one or a future one, who would you like to see?
Want to see in the dunk contest Zach LaVine again and Aaron Gordon. 'Cause that was,
Rematch.
oh yeah.
Cheers!
Jay Marlin, man. Jay.
I always wanted to see LeBron, but I think this is not going to happen.
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant in the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a rogue one. We haven't had that one yet.
Dwight Howard.
Zach LaVine.
Who would you like to see?
Obviously, Vince Carter.
Yeah?
Of course.
Bring him back.
Bring him back.
L'ancien.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And if you had to put any player in the All-Star game, who would you like to put?
Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson. We're going to bring him back.
Bring him back again.
Pat Connaughton.
Pat Connaughton.
Yes.
What an answer. Go on.
I'm going with Chris Middleton. The
Yeah?
Bucks got the best record in the NBA, so I think they deserve 2 All-Stars.
Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert.
Boban Marjanovic, because everybody loves him.
Boban Marjanovic in the All-Star game. That is an incredible answer. You heard it here first. Boban for All-Star, please. There you have it. The people of NBA House here in Paris have spoken. Some hot takes, some hotter takes. All we know is that everyone's really, really looking forward to All-Star Weekend. Back to the studio.
Oh, Derek Jones, man.
Yes, Yanni, as you said, live on Sky Sports, All-Star Weekend. We start with the Rising Stars Challenge, the NBA World versus the NBA USA. The young boys get their chance to dive in. Zion Williamson will be in the building Saturday morning, 2 a.m., Sky Sports Arena, Saturday, February 15th. And that's before we get ourselves ready for Sunday morning. Sunday morning is the time when everyone wants to be there. You're talking about the stars, you're talking about the dunks, you're talking about the three-point competition. That starts from 1 a.m., the All-Star Saturday night, and that's building up to the big one. Sunday night, February 16th. Please, please, please stay up. It'll be worth it on Monday morning. The 69th All-Star Game, 11 p.m. we start on Sky Sports Arena. And I promise you, 2 hours of preview from the TNT crew. That's Ernie's in the building, Chuck is in the building, and you know it's going to be full of laughs and jokes. And look, let's dive straight into the team selections, because as we saw with Team LeBron, he didn't waste any time and he chose Anthony Davis first off. Ryan, what are you making of his starters and his reserves?
Loaded. Loaded. What's it? It's Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Fully loaded tacos. Wow. I mean,
I know.
obviously,
Can
he
you
had
imagine
to
that
pick
being a
his
team?
boy.
Could you imagine that being a team?
That's a championship right there. If James passes the ball. Harden, James Harden. that is. But yeah, just going down the board.
Who are you most excited to see in action?
In action?
Yeah.
Well, everyone around this table is going to disagree with me, but...
You're going to say Sabonis?
No, LeBron's my guy. LeBron's my guy, but I'm most excited to see James Harden.
I like that.
Just because, he's ball dominant.
That's that energy. He's built for the All-Star game.
Come out, he's just going to have the flair.
And Ovi, when you see Team Giannis, he's on the opposite side. I mean, I'm not going to try and hint that there's a lot of international players in there, but there's a lot of international players in there. I mean, what are you most excited about when you look at his starters and his reserves?
You've got first-timer in Pascal. He's going to be gassed to be there. You've got Trae Young that's out there. He's going to be trying to prove something. I'm not thrilled about Kemba Walker. Because of his Boston Celtics ties. I think he's got a team that's gonna play together. Funny enough, and I don't think that's common in the All-Star game. I think that will make this All-Star game pretty competitive. Because if on one side you have a team that is actually starting to play, team basketball, and Giannis hinted to the fact that James Harden probably might mess up the chemistry over on the West. But when you have one side playing team basketball and getting it done, and at that level, with all that talent, if they play together, it'll be even more special. I think we'll see LeBron James's team sort of follow suit, and that will create for an amazing game.
Mo, last time these two team captains got together, it seemed like it was a little bit more spontaneous. People were just kind of choosing how they kind of felt at that moment in time. Let's say a little bit more recruitment was going on as well. This time, it felt like they actually thought about it. You saw the notebooks being out. I mean, are you surprised by any of those selections at all?
If Giannis thought about this draft and he picked these guys, I hope he never, ever becomes a GM. I know the Knicks are hiring for a new president, and maybe he's perfect for that role. But, Giannis, his draft picks are not ideal. I think he's picked guys that he wants to have a laugh with. And I think both captains, they pick the guys that they most often play against. Because I think that kind of distorts your perception on the player. If you're having to face them more regularly, I think you might think that they're better than they are. And of course, you see Giannis and picking Embiid, they're both funny guys and they like to have a laugh. And it's All-Star weekend. Everyone's trying to be on the good vibes. I think LeBron's come out picking it very tactically, and Giannis, last year, he said he likes to pick the underdogs. He likes to pick some of the international guys. So,
I mean, Giannis actually went viral almost immediately after the selection because of something that he decided to do, which, I mean, NBA players are very vocal about how they feel about other players, but I thought it was very interesting what he said about James Harden.
Okay, this is a tough one. I'm between Kemba and Trae Young.
Wait, you don't want the dribbler?
I want somebody that's gonna pass the ball. That's what I want. So I'm gonna go with crossover killer, step back master, Kemba Walker.
Kemba Walker.
All right.
Yeah, you can see that coming. Well, he needs a guard. He needs a point guard.
Okay.
I mean, Rye, he just took a shot at your boy right there. He just turned around and said, everything you just turned around and said that you want to see from James Harden, Giannis said, I don't want that on my team whatsoever.
Yeah, that's cool, but that's why he's going to get smacked. Do you get what I'm saying?
That is not why they're going to get.
He's going to get written off.
No, that's not. It's not because of James Harden.
He might go for 60 and a quarter.
I told you what.
He might. He just might.
60
First off, LeBron James is going to have the ball in his hands most of the time.
Hey, man.
That's just off respect.
What year we
Second,
in? Year 17, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah? Year 17.
You guys
Don't worry,
being on that team.
Anyway. Anyway.
Luka's going to have the ball in his hands You know, so it's not saying that James Harden's not going to do his thing. Super talented, but you know, we're going to make sure we limit his dribbling practice.
It's an all-star game. The ball moves, they go up and down. It's not regular season Rockets where you watch James Harden dribble and shoot.
As much as we're looking forward to the All-Star game itself, obviously Saturday night is when the stars come out. And Saturday night is when the dunk contest happens. Now that's my time that is my time to shine. Shout out to my boy Aaron Gordon, first of all. I see you shining. It's time we get that ring. It's time we get that championship.
Don't try to bring him up any extra.
Anyway, yeah, dunk contest this weekend. How are you looking forward to it? And what are you looking forward to in terms of the dunkers the most?
I can't even lie. Aaron Gordon, man.
I'm telling you, the boy AG is there.
Yeah,
see this? That's magic.
That magic.
Time. Yeah?
I'm not saying I'm not looking forward to him. Like, obviously, I think I'm looking forward to watching him. But Derek Jones, in my opinion, I think is going to win.
He's a problem.
I say that
He's
because
a problem.
I think the expectations that Aaron Gordon set from what he done last time, he set the bar so high. So now he does something amazing. If it's not quite like what he did before, it's messed up our perception of how.
I don't think there's anything better he could like that.
I don't think you can.
You know him say it's magic time. That means
unfinished business.
For real.
Unfinished
I think
business.
him not winning
There's a point
is enough incentive for him to be like, I'm going to be extra creative this time. I mean, I think it's going to be difficult to beat this one again, but it's going to be interesting.
There's one dope team in Florida, man.
Just playing devil's advocate.
Orlando.
There's one cold team in Florida.
Just for the sake of argument, right? People are sleeping on Pat Connaughton does have a ridiculous vertical leap.
Ridiculous.
And also, Dwight Howard brings that nostalgia feel. I'm not saying this why I'm just saying.
Wow.
Dwight Howard brings that nostalgia. He brings out the Superman
He's going
cape.
out first round.
He's definitely not getting
No,
out
I've got Aaron Gordon because
Are you a
I think
low-key
he should
Bucks
have
fan?
won.
That's a couple times.
He should have won.
Where are they?
Yeah, you're a low-key Bucks fan, you know.
Somewhere I got the magic right here, though. I'm going with Aaron Gordon.
There you go.
Okay.
Tell me, man, who are you most looking forward to? I know you've had your chance in terms of what, but the three-point competition this year, there's some big names in it. Some incredible names. Yeah? He's doing the jig already. Ice Tray is looking like the front runner because of that extended range. Who are you most looking forward to in that three-point competition?
Trey.
He's there, isn't he?
Ice Tray.
But
Can you hear the ice? Can you hear the ice shaking?
But Dame is there though. Dame is there.
If he starts pointing to his watch,
it's over.
And says he knows. If he starts pointing to his watch,
if he starts pointing to his watch, he's running out of time. We're on a time constraint here. Ice Tray the gang. It's Ice Tray.
All day.
Ice Tray all day, every day, yesterday, tomorrow, and next week too.
Okay, my question to you is then, Joe Harris won it last year.
That's what I was about to say. We have
shot the
some
lights out of Steph Curry.
Surprise candidates. My surprise candidate for this year, that a lot of people have been sleeping on, the Latvian laser. Davis Bertans, who I know not many people watch the Wizards play, but he
Where
is
did you get this
lights out.
Get this on Google, bro. Oh, all right, go on. Tell me his stats.
Numbers game.
Oh, tell me his stats. Go on. I know. All right. All right, go on, Mo. What's his stats?
Mo, I'm gonna let you go.
Mo, I can't
Mo,
even
what's
lie.
his stats?
You're cold right now, man.
How many Wizards games have you watched this season?
What's his stats?
I've watched a few, just the ones that's incredibly high scoring. You know,
if you've watched them, he's an elite shooter, and that's what you got to know. European player coming over, he's got that stroke. I'm just saying he's
I honestly thought you was
going
gonna say Duncan Robinson, and no shout for the big dunk at all.
Bro.
Nothing.
Like, the three-point contest, you never know who could win because it's one of those, you hit a few shots in a row, or if you miss a few shots in a row at the start, it's anyone's game.
Exactly.
I hear
But
that.
Trae Young ain't missing. Like, Trae Young.
I'm not saying he's not going to win. I'm just saying.
Trae Young's in the All-Star game for a reason.
I'm not saying Trae Young. I think Trae Young's going to win as well. I'm just saying
That's
an
not what you just
outside
said.
contender that
That
might
is not what
surprise
you
me.
just
Look,
said.
boys, on Saturday night, we'll get to find out. Make sure you all keep your phones on, by the way. I'm making
Oh,
sure.
yeah, that
Stay
group
active.
chat, that group
Stay
message,
active
yeah.
in the group, you know, because remember you said it with your chest beforehand.
I'll be there. I'll take a selfie with David after he wins.
But let's jump into our last segment, the Mumper mentality. So, gents, as you know, obviously we've created this segment purely because of the late, great Kobe Bryant. In terms of every week, we're going to turn around and talk about either an individual, a team, or even a coach that you feel that deserves that recognition for showing that Mumper mentality this week. And I know there was a few arguments in production. Trust me, there was a few arguments in production. But I think we all agreed in the end to say that this week, because of their great winning streak, the Toronto Raptors deserve the Mumper Mentality Award. But I know some of you don't want to make cases for other teams. So first of all, shout out to the Raptors, 15-game winning streak, incredible, making your waves in the Eastern Conference. We know you'll probably be in the playoffs again. But I know you don't want to make your claims for the other people that should have been nominated. So Mo, I'm gonna go to you first. Anybody else that you feel unbiasedly that could potentially...
First off, which team out of your 30 teams that you support, which team are you going for today?
I'm going to say this. It's a weekly award.
Of course.
And I personally think that this Mamba Mentality Award should be an individual award, not a team award.
Okay.
I've gone with the NBA's Eastern Conference Player of the Week, the player who averaged over 29 points, won all 4 games this week, shot over 50% from the field.
Absolute
If I describe that player to you, the team is irrelevant, the name of the player is irrelevant, because the numbers don't lie. He had been the best player in the past week. He was mentored by Kobe a few seasons ago. Jason Tatum was my nomination this week because he's been on a scoring tear.
Celtic pride.
I hear that.
It's what it is, man.
Right, if you could have given your nomination anywhere, where would you have given it?
Do you know what? My guy, Dalla Dame.
Dalla.
He
Still
won
there.
last week. He won last week, you know, but he's been playing at an insane level. You know, his percentages are through the roof. And I feel like he's got something to prove, and he's on an uphill battle, and he's going to prove it. So that was my choice. But do you know what? He won it last week, so there has to be a reigning champ. There has to be a new champ.
Ove, I came to you last on purpose because I wanted you to give the shout out for where you felt your heart, who you wanted to give the Mumper Mentality Award to this week. So the floor is yours. Happy belated birthday again. Go for it, my guy.
No, I appreciate it. You know, with 29 years comes a lot of wisdom, and you understand more what things like the Mumper Mentality really mean. So, you know, obviously Toronto, I went for Toronto this week. I think, you know, they were in the discussion last week, but to continue how they've been going, we've always talked about sort of the Bucks when we refer to a team that's sort of been in a groove and is like a smooth running machine. I think, you know, Toronto have that sort of laser-like focus at the moment, the steam rolling, the high form. But shout out to Ja Morant. You know, you did say Ja Morant, and you've got to give him a shout out. His first triple-double. And what I like about it is, you know, he's still playing well with all the circus that's going on around him.
He had some great tweets as well.
Do you know what I mean? But that's what I mean.
He brought energy this week, both on and off the court. Yeah, on and off the court.
You know, he said things with his chest. He's said players that he doesn't really take to. And he still performed. He still brought it on the court. So, yeah, big shout out to Ja Morant too, man.
Whew. Well, I cannot wait for All-Star Weekend this weekend because, as you know, it's going to be all action, enthralling. But we still have the heat check to talk about for next weekend to react to all of the stuff that we're going to see over the weekend. And we'll be back here Tuesday, February 18th, Sky Sports Heat Check, 5:30. Yes, I said it, the new time, 5:30. Sky love us that much, they're giving us 15 extra minutes on Sky Sports YouTube. We cannot wait to see you there. Look out for the tweets all week to get involved on Sky Sports NBA Twitter. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. You, safe journey, first of all.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Happy belated birthday. Rye, can't wait to see you again on the sofa, my guy. Absolute pleasure. And we cannot wait for All-Star Weekend, so make sure you stay tuned for all of the action.
Thank you.
Zion's coming for you, you know.
Hey.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.